Hi, I'm Norah O'Donnell, and this is Person to Person. Our guest today is Professor of Happiness, Arthur Brooks.
All of us can be apostles for happiness and love in our own way.
Arthur Brooks is an author and professor specializing in the study of happiness, success, and leadership. The child of a mathematician and an artist, Brooks dropped out of college to become a professional horn player, spending several years as a musician in Barcelona. When he returned to school, he got a master's in economics and master's in philosophy, followed by a PhD in public policy. Brooks has spent time as a professor, currently teaching at Harvard. He worked at a think tank in Washington, too, and has written 13 books, including his latest with Oprah Winfrey, Build the Life You Want, The Art and Science of Getting Happier. The pair became friends during the pandemic, and together have used their years of experience to create a roadmap for how to become happier in life right now.
Here's your happiness, Norah.
And that was exactly the topic of our conversation with Arthur Brooks at his home in Massachusetts for an intimate, person-to-person conversation. Thank you so much for inviting us into your home.
Oh, I'm delighted to see you. Thank you for coming.
Really appreciate it. All right, the first time you picked up the phone and you hear a voice on the other line say, "This is Oprah," what did you think?
Well, I said, yeah, and I'm Batman.
Did you really say that?
No, actually, but the first time I talked to Oprah, it was really kind of surreal, of course, because this is the voice I've heard my whole life, practically. As a young man, I remember, I was making my living as a musician, starving, living in New York, and I'd be practicing, and I'd turn on the morning television, and it was the Oprah Winfrey Show. Highly entertaining and educational, and it never occurred to me that, of course, we were going to be collaborators on a book about happiness. Life's funny.
Life is funny.
Yeah.
And so how did the conversation go?
Well, it turns out that she reads my column in The Atlantic. And the column in The Atlantic, I started it during the coronavirus epidemic because I knew there were people all over the country, really all over the world, that were looking for an understanding to themselves. They had a lot more time to think about their lives. So I wrote a column called How to Build a Life. It comes out every Thursday morning, and it's the science of happiness, but more importantly, how you can use it. I don't know who's reading it. I know there's something like 500,000 readers who are reading it a week. One of them was Oprah Winfrey. And we were like a house on fire right from the very beginning. It was great. We really understood each other. We have the same purpose. We see the world in the same way. And then she said, why don't we do some damage together? Let's do a project. Let's write a book. Let's write a book together. And so we did.
It's pretty nice when Oprah says, let's write a book together.
It's not the worst thing that can happen to you in your life as an author, that's for sure.
Did it make you happy?
It made me happy. It made me happy. I have sort of the spirit of the missionary. Like, the world is mission territory when you're talking about happiness. I want to knock on doors and help people understand themselves and live happier, better lives. And the way you do that is to have a better platform, talk to more people. But Oprah Winfrey, she's one of the most well-known people in the world for good reason, because she's been lifting people up for decade after decade. And she can open the door to the science of happiness to millions and millions of people. I'm running through that door. And she's running through with me, which is so great.
What is it that makes you and Oprah on the same wavelength?
We both have a personal mission to lift people up and bring them together. That's why we were born. That's why we're on the earth, is to lift people up and bring them together. And we do it in different ways because we all have different gifts. For me, I'm a social scientist. I've been incredibly blessed to do the things that I do. Oprah, on the other hand, is conscious every day of the responsibility that comes with the privilege of being somebody who has the confidence of hundreds of millions of people around the world. And we're trying to use these platforms to lift people up and bring them together. We both believe that we were born for that reason, and that's the connection that we have.
Any standout memories from writing the book together?
Well, everything with Oprah Winfrey is a standout memory. Because everything that she does is unique and lovely. The standout memory, I have to say, about having an association with Oprah Winfrey, however, is a little bit different. In my life, I've been privileged to know a lot of very prominent people, very incredibly accomplished people, people of singular genius and wisdom that are admired by millions. I've had the opportunity to do that. Politicians, intellectuals, they're usually not like what you think. I'm not saying anything bad, nothing, but they're human, right? But they're not as perfectly virtuous as you would expect, or not as friendly as you would think, or not as transparent as they portray themselves in the mass media. Oprah is exactly like she seems to the rest of the world. She is highly intelligent, extremely organized, totally ethical, super nice, and completely normal. It is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I mean, how can Oprah Winfrey be just like everybody thinks she is? That's what she is.
The most authentic person you've ever met?
Probably so. I think that's probably a fair characterization. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who's more authentic to her true self that people who don't know her love than Oprah Winfrey.
That's her intention.
She's the real deal.
Okay, so your day job is teaching happiness at Harvard.
Yeah.
How did that get on the syllabus?
So, Harvard is a wonderful place. People at Harvard believe it's the best university in the world, and it's maybe true. But when I came to Harvard, one of the things that really blew my mind was that they wanted me, because of my background, I had been running a think tank in Washington, D.C., and I had gotten my tenure and promotion as a college professor at another university. So I had this background as an academic. I'm a real life professor guy. But that's not what they wanted. They said, there's this series of ideas that you have that the world needs. So we want you to be a professor of practice, meaning bring practices to the classroom, but more importantly, make the world the classroom. Go do that. Can you go do that? And I said, yeah, I can go do that. They said, so what are you going to teach? And I said, here's the thing that I think that we need at Harvard, at the Harvard Business School, that we don't have, and that's the science of happiness. Not woo-woo, not let's all sit in a circle and talk about our feelings. No. The science of happiness, how you can use it to change your habits, and how you can go become a happiness teacher in whatever you're doing in life, whether you're running your family or running a company, how you can be a happiness teacher. I said, okay, give it a shot, Sonny. And so I implemented it and became one of the most oversubscribed classes at the school, because that's what people want, it turns out. So we have 180 students in the classroom, hundreds on the waiting list. There's an illegal Zoom link they think I don't know about, that their parents are watching.
Yeah.
It's the best.
When we come back, Arthur Brooks tells us some of the things he teaches in that class, like why the journey is more important than the destination. So you study happiness, you teach happiness,
Yeah.
you write about happiness. You must be a really happy guy.
If only. There's probably 15 academics that seriously specialize in the science of happiness. I think I know them all, and they're all looking for happiness. This is the reason that you study happiness, is because you want more of it. My wife, on a 1 to 10 scale of happiness, is a 9.8. I mean, come on. Most of my life, I'm lucky to break a 5.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And look, 50% of your baseline mood is genetic. And your biological parents, if they're gloomy, you're going to have a gloomy proclivity.
You write in the book that Americans are in a happiness slump.
Yeah.
How so?
Well, if you look at the data going back a long time, we've been collecting data on how happy people would consider their lives to be. And the way that you ask this question, it's actually legit. It seems kind of subjective, but the truth is that you ask people, all things considered in your life, like not this moment. So not like Arthur and Norah right now have a moment and we had a good breakfast and a good workout, so we're feeling kind of happy. But it's in general in your life over the last couple of years. Compared to all the people that you know, where a number 1 is the unhappiest person you know, and the number 10 is the happiest person you know, what's your number? That turns out to be extremely stable and accurate. People will give you that number. And the result of that is that when we look at measures like this, and there are a bunch of different places that do it, that you find that average American happiness has been declining since the late 1980s.
Why?
Well, it's a good question. And one of the things that we know about the habits of the happiest people is that they're kind of fourfold. They tend to focus on their faith or spirituality or their transcendent or philosophical lives. For me, I'm a Catholic. It's not the path for everybody to find it, but something that's transcendent to your own, boring, commute and lunch and, aggravations of life. You need to zoom out a little bit. That's number one, faith. Two, family life. These people are serious, the happiest people are serious about their family relationships. They don't walk away from family because they have a different political opinion. They're not. Number three, and you can see where I'm going with this, number three is friendship, real friends, real friends. And that's different than deal friends, which everybody knows the difference. And last but not least, they get a lot of satisfaction from their work because their work is meaningful insofar as it serves other people. Here's the problem. All four of those things have been declining since the late 1980s. We have bad happiness hygiene in this country. Loneliness is on the rise. People are more isolated. The coronavirus epidemic did not help. And the result of that is that faith, family, friends, and work have been in decline, and happiness is in decline.
You write in the book that the fact we can't achieve complete happiness is actually the best news ever.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The beautiful thing about life is the journey. It's, they used to say that the key to the treasure is the treasure, or the journey is the destination. And, there's so much about it, isn't it? That, sort of the American version of that is that the first prize in a pie eating contest, you know what it is? Pie, right? So you better like pie. And the truth of the matter is that that's the beautiful thing about the way that we live our lives, is that we're moving in a particular direction.
So the goal is not complete happiness.
No.
It's to be happier.
It's happierness. Oprah calls it happierness. She made up that word, which is phenomenal. It's kind of what she does. It's her magic. I said, yeah,
so
we got to be
Oprah calls
happier.
it happierness.
Yeah, happierness is what we're seeking, not happiness. Because we want to be happier. We want to make progress. And you can, and you can, and you can.
I'm going to tick off a few things that people may associate with happiness. So you tell me yes or no if they are necessary for a happy life. Money.
No.
Fame.
No, double no.
Power.
No.
Good looks.
Nope.
None of them.
None of them. And Mother Nature is such a tyrant. Mother Nature makes you want those things, and Mother Nature promises you that you'll be happy if you have those things. Why? Because Mother Nature really only has two goals for us, which is survival and passing on our genes. Evolution has built us to survive another day and pass on our genes, and that's success for Mother Nature. Mother Nature doesn't care if you're happy. Mother Nature doesn't care if Nora's happy. Mother Nature wants Nora to be really successful in evolutionary terms. And so therefore, the goals that'll make you more likely to survive are having lots of resources, lots of notoriety and admiration of other people, lots of power over other human beings, right? Lots of pleasure. Oh boy, that's going to give you all kinds of evolutionary advantage. But that's not what's going to make you happy. And only when we understand that can we go from the animal path to the divine path. That's when we can go to the divine path in life. And again, that's not a religious assertion. That's basically saying that we have a choice of being stuck in the earthly plane or actually living in a transcendent way by making choices about our lives that are better than what Mother Nature is dictating to us.
But if you were an alien and landed on Earth, and specifically in America, and looked at social media, you would think that the way to happiness is money, fame, power, and good looks.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it funny? Because social media is this laboratory for the earthly goals that actually make you miserable.
When we come back, Arthur Brooks tells us how we can achieve a happier life. There are some popular phrases right now: me time, self-care. They're very, very popular. The focus on the wellness industry. Is tending to oneself the key to happiness?
One must tend to oneself, obviously. We have to take care of ourselves. I mean, you go to the gym every day, I go to the gym every day, we watch what we eat, we take care of ourselves, we go to the doctor when something doesn't feel right, for sure. We also surround ourselves with people who are good to us as opposed to are bad to us, or at least we try to. But the truth of the matter is that you can push that too far. This whole movement of self-care. Universities will talk about radical self-care. It's like, what's the difference between self-care and radical self-care? We need more other care. Other care. The secret to actually taking it to the next level of happiness is a baseline of self-care and then other care. And why? Because you're looking at the outside world. You're looking with compassion at what other people need. This is the higher transcendent path. The lower path is self-care. You have enough of it, a baseline. But it's not as high as what we're doing. The whole idea that I'm going to find happiness if I focus entirely on myself is completely misguided. That is the short road to true misery, because only to love and be loved is going to give you the happiness that you seek, and only other care will actually bring that to you.
Mm-hmm. You write that mirrors are bad for us. How so?
Mirrors are a dangerous business, and part of the reason is because there's really two selves. You know, when you're looking in the mirror, which we do every day, there's the I self who's looking in the mirror, and there's the me self that's being seen in the mirror. And those are really two people cognitively. Human beings have this enormous brain that can actually process this separation of the two selves. You know, something will happen that you did and you didn't realize it was you. You know, and it's such a weird separation. It feels so unnatural. You need the I self so you can observe the world. You need the me self so you know who you are. The problem is, in modern life, it's all me self, me self, me self, me self. You want to be happier? Do more I self. Observe the world more. There's a bunch of different ways to do that. The best single way is to get rid of your mirrors.
So there's that phrase, you know, older and wiser.
Yeah.
Is it true? Does it exist?
It does. It's absolutely true. One of the great things, one of the consolations of age, and I wouldn't have believed it when I was 29, that I actually see it when I'm 59, is you have naturally better emotional self-management. And part of it just comes from experience. So the book that Oprah and I are writing is to speed everybody up, right? So that at 29 you can get some of the same lessons.
Why are some people happier than others? Is it doled out at birth differently?
Yeah, some people, it's funny, they can have, you could even give two people relatively identical lives and one would be happier than the other. And the reason is because there's a kind of a metabolism for our happiness. Just as two people can eat the same diet and one gain more weight than the other because of metabolism. Metabolism has to do with, what you eat, has to do with your genetics and your circumstances and also your habits. And the same thing is true with your happiness. It's your genetics, your circumstances, and your habits. Half of your baseline happiness levels, the moods that you experience from day to day, they're genetic. And so if you have really happy, bubbly, ebullient parents, well, good for you, lucky. But that's genetic, as it turns out. Another quarter is circumstantial, meaning that good things that are happening will bring you up very temporarily or bring you down very temporarily. But that fluctuation is happening at about 25% of your happiness from day to day. The only really important thing is your habits. And that's 25% or so of your happiness. That's under your direct control. That will also systematically give you better circumstances and allow you to manage your genetics. So all people need to think about is not, oh, woe is me, mom and dad were depressed, my grandparents were, gloomy. No. Or I've had such bad luck. No. Don't think about those things. It's maximize the 4 habits of the happiest people, the happiness 401k plan. This is what Oprah and I write about in the whole back half of the book. Once you're managing yourself emotionally, then you can focus on the habits. And so that's what the back half of the book is. And it's faith, family, friends, and work that serves others. That's it.
I do think for many people, they feel stuck in their circumstances, whatever they may be. And certainly emotionally, people feel like they get stuck.
Yeah, people feel stuck all the time. And until the outside world changes, I can't feel better. There's a huge problem with that, which is you can't change the outside world very much. Waiting it out is usually not a very good strategy either. You got to change yourself. Now, again, that's much harder for some people than it is for others. Easy for me to say compared to people who've lived just dreadful circumstances that I'll never face. I'm fully aware that it's much easier for me than it is for other people, but I'm also well aware that it's equally an exercise in futility for them to change the outside world as it is for me to change my outside world. The only chance that we've got is to work within, is to get the owner's manual and to work through the owner's manual. Now, there's not a comprehensive owner's manual, so Oprah and I have tried to do our own version of it, is what it comes down to. But that's why it's so important to study how we work, such that we can start on ourselves as opposed to being stuck waiting for the rest of the world to change.
Would you consider Oprah an exceptionally happy person?
Oprah is interesting because she truly is a living, breathing example of not letting circumstances dictate your happiness. She didn't have she didn't have that, the kind of upbringing you'd look at and say, oh, wow, I mean, she got the golden ticket. No, I mean, she was raised in poverty. She was raised under hardship and very difficult circumstances. And
abuse. She talked about it.
She's talked about it in public, and she built the life she wanted. She built the life that she wanted. Nothing's perfect. I mean, everybody, there are days when you wake up and you're like, bad night, or something's going on, or I don't feel it. Oprah too, because nobody escapes that. We have a tendency to look at people who have these really blessed lives or have so much more than we do, who have money, power, pleasure, and fame, and say they must never feel unhappy. And yet, if they don't manage themselves emotionally, they will be in the same bad circumstances as any of the rest of us.
What's the most important lesson you've learned from Oprah?
It's very important to live what you teach. It's shocking to me when I meet someone like Oprah Winfrey, who is the person that she purports to be, because she lives the lessons that she teaches to others. Why is it that way? Is it just a coincidence that she's really nice and really humble and really normal? Why? No, it's because she says, live this way and you'll be better, and she lives that way.
She works on it.
She works on it. And that's a very important lesson for me to remember. And I'm not gonna lie, it's easy for me not to live the things that I teach. I mean, I see the science every single day, and I translate it every single week in my column to how people can live it. And a lot of times my wife, Esther says, do you read your column?
Can you learn something from yourself, please?
Yeah. Can you actually do the things that you're talking about? And then when I see somebody who is 10x my life doing it, that is a huge lesson for me. And I got to tell you, ever since we started on this project with Oprah, my life has been better. I'm in the blast zone of Oprah goodness. It's really great.
Does Oprah make you happy?
She makes me happy. I like Oprah. I like her as a person. Talking to her gives me energy. She's interesting. She's intellectual. She asks the best questions. She has incredible insights. She's the perfect partner.